Mr. Cato was one of the richest men in the country. He was 90 years old, but he still carried the pride of a man who had built everything with his own hands. For many years he had worked in different cities, buying land, building houses, opening shops, and renting out buildings that stood tall like shining towers in the sun. People respected him. Some feared him. Others admired him. But almost everyone in the country knew the name Cato, the man who owned buildings in many cities. He had 3 children. They grew up in comfort, surrounded by everything money could buy. As Cato grew older, his health began to weaken. His legs no longer carried him well. One morning, his condition became worse. He could hardly stand. The workers panicked and called his children. When the children arrived, they all agreed to take him to the hospital. They brought him to a big hospital in the center of the city and placed him in a private room. He lay on the bed, weak, confused, and frightened. For a short moment, he felt comforted to see his children standing around him. But that comfort did not last long. After the doctors checked him and nurses cleaned him, the children slowly disappeared from the room. None of them came back. They left him there in the hospital without looking back. Hours passed, then days passed. Mr. Cato lay alone in that cold hospital room. No one came to help him eat. No one checked on him. He would look at the door every time he heard footsteps, hoping to see his children. But it was always a nurse, a doctor, or a stranger passing by the hallway. He felt pain, not only in his body, but in his heart. He wondered how children he had raised in comfort could forget him so easily. In that same hospital worked a woman called Maria. She was a cleaner. Her work was simple but tiring. She swept the floors, mopped the corridors, wiped windows, and removed rubbish from rooms. But Maria had a kind heart. She was the type of woman who felt pity when she saw a person suffering. One day, as she cleaned the corridor near Mr. Cato's room, she heard a weak voice calling for help. It was the old man. He needed water. He needed someone to adjust his pillow. He needed a warm blanket. Maria entered the room and saw him struggling on the bed. The sight broke her heart. She placed her mop aside and went to help him. She gave him water. She lifted his pillow. She covered him well. She asked if he had anyone coming to see him. She thought maybe his children were busy, so she promised herself she would check on him again. From that day, every time she finished cleaning a ward or a corridor, she passed by Cato's room. Maria brought him food when he could not feed himself. She talked to him when he felt lonely. She washed his face when he sweated too much. She brushed his gray hair gently. She even prayed with him when his breathing became painful. Days turned into weeks. Cato continued to grow weaker. But the only comfort he got came from the cleaner woman. She treated him like her own father. She did not ask for money. She did not complain. She cared for him because her heart was soft. One evening, Cato looked into Maria's eyes with great sadness. His voice was faint but clear. He told her that he did not have much time left. He thanked her for being the only light in his final days. He asked her to call his family lawyer because he wanted to write a will. Maria did not understand why he wanted a will at that moment, but she trusted him. The old man slowly dictated what he wanted. His voice broke many times, and Maria wiped his tears as he spoke. When he finished signing, he closed his eyes and rested. A few days later, in the quiet darkness of early morning, Mr. Cato's breathing slowed. He held Maria's hand weakly, as if he saw in her everything he had hoped to see in his children. Then he closed his eyes for the last time and died peacefully. When the news reached his children, they rushed to the hospital. Their faces showed no sadness, only shock and urgency. The first son asked loudly, "When did he die and when is the will going to be read?" He did not even look at his father's body. The second son swung his arms, saying, "I hope the will gives me the company, because I am the one who has been running it." The daughter came in with tears that looked forced and said, "I hope father remembered to give me a big share." Maria stood in the corner watching them with disbelief. She knew that none of them had visited their father even once. After 1 week, everyone gathered in a room to hear the will. The atmosphere was heavy. The children sat proudly, expecting large shares. The family lawyer entered with an envelope. He looked at them with a serious face and said, "Before I read this, I want everyone here to agree that what is written was done by Mr. Cato while he was sober." They nodded impatiently. The lawyer opened the envelope and began reading. "I, Mr. Cato, give 3% of my wealth to my elder son." The elder son jumped from his seat shouting, "This cannot be! He cannot leave me with only 3%. I was his firstborn." The lawyer continued reading without looking up. "I also leave 3% to my daughter." The daughter screamed, "No, this cannot happen. He cannot do this to me." The lawyer went on, "I leave 4% to my last son." The second son stood up angrily and shouted, "Father cannot leave me with only 4%. I worked in the company. I ran everything." The lawyer paused for a moment before reading the final part. "I give the remaining 90% of my wealth to the cleaner woman who took care of me in the hospital." The entire room became silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Then all three children stood and shouted at the same time, "This cannot be! He cannot do this! How can our inheritance go to a stranger? We cannot accept it." The lawyer calmly said, "If you are not contented, you can go to the courts of law. But I repeat, he wrote this when he was sober and clear in the mind." The children stormed out angrily, slamming the door. The next week, they went to court with the best lawyer they could find. They entered the courtroom with pride and confidence, ready to fight. They believed their father must have been confused. They believed the will was not valid. They believed their money could win any case. But when the hearing began, the family lawyer entered the courtroom and stood before the judge. He held a small device in his hand and said, "Before he died, Mr. Cato told me that if his children do not respect his will, I should play this video in court." The judge allowed him. He pressed play. On the screen appeared the face of old Mr. Cato. His voice was slow but strong. He said, "If you are seeing this video, it means my children are not contented with my decision. I wrote the will while sober and they should obey it. The cleaner woman helped me when you all abandoned me in the hospital. If you continue to fight, even the small portion I gave you should be removed from you." The courtroom became silent. The judge looked at the children and saw shame on their faces. The evidence was clear. There was nothing to argue. The judge closed the case and ruled that the cleaner woman should receive the 90% of the wealth as written in the will. She had never expected anything like this. She had only helped him because her heart told her it was the right thing to do. With her new wealth, she did not live a selfish life. She did not buy unnecessary things. Instead, she built schools where children could study for free. She built hospitals where the poor could get treatment without crying for money. She donated to charities. She helped the needy. She became a blessing to everyone she met. People loved her not because she was rich, but because she used her wealth to help others. In the end, the country remembered the story of Mr. Cato, and they remembered how kindness changed a woman from a hospital cleaner into a hero who changed many lives. And through this story, everyone learned that true family is not made by blood alone. Sometimes true family is the person who stands beside you when everyone else walks away.